What's up, fine folks? Welcome to episode 20 of Double Tapped. I'm Jay.
I'm Tanner.
And Tanner,
yeah,
we knew episode 20 was going to be special.
That's true. It's
what we didn't know
fun number. Yeah.
Was that PlayStation was going to do the job of making it special for us.
Correct.
So we had plans. We're going to push those plans off for at least a week.
Yeah.
PlayStation announced that they were going to do the official PlayStation Showcase for today, the day we were filming this, which is Thursday, September 9th.
Yep.
We will have all of that recap for you here in just a little bit.
Yep.
First off, though, we're drinking Bud Light.
Yeah, we are.
The official beer of the NFL, because kickoff is tonight. Bucks versus Cowboys. Who you got?
Go football. Bucks.
Yeah, I think Bucks by about 12.
Yeah.
Maybe not. Maybe that's a little... Nah, that might be a little rich.
I'm going to go...
Maybe about 10.
I'm going to go 31-24 Bucks.
That's about what I was thinking. I think earlier my thought was like 27-24 Bucks.
That's fair.
I think they give it a little more cushion than that.
Yeah.
But I also think the Cowboys could score a little more than that. But I still don't see them scoring enough. Anyway.
There's your football analysis from a gaming podcast.
Exactly. Tanner, what you been playing?
I assume that you and I have been playing only the same game, which is Hades.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
I just played. I haven't been able to play a ton, but I have been playing some Hades.
To be fair, haven't either. How far have you made it? Because I don't want to spoil anything.
I've still only gotten to the Bone Hydra. Have not defeated the Bone Hydra yet.
Okay. Yeah, I have played a little bit further than that.
Okay.
I have not gotten my first run completed yet. I'm still on the ways to that. Of course, I did it several times on PC, but even with the experience that I have from playing on PC, it's been long enough that I'm still having to relearn the game, and it's still a matter of, do you get the right combinations of things to build your run out. So that's basically all I've been playing. I've been playing some more Dead by Daylight. They just released the Eraserhead killer. So now, or no, sorry, not Eraserhead, Pinhead.
Pinhead, yeah, from
Pinhead is in it now. What is the name of that movie?
Death, Demon, Hellraiser.
Hellraiser, that's it. Thank you. I don't know why I said Eraserhead. I saw that on HBO Max last night. Yeah, Pinhead's in it. I've not played against Pinhead yet, but it's just been the sort of, I have 30 minutes, I'm gonna play a game of that, and as well as some Rocket League, which is always just on the back of my brain. But I've not been playing much. This has been a very busy week for me.
Yeah.
And so I've not had a lot of time to play stuff. What about you?
Yeah, coming off of what was, a relaxing but still like action-packed Labor Day weekend, because I was like not doing work but still doing a lot of things.
Sure. And
then coming back to work and going to bed at 9:45 every night like an old man.
Yeah.
I haven't been playing a ton,
right.
But did play a few runs of Hades. Still, enjoy it thoroughly. It's a very fun game.
Yep.
Got a round or two of Slay the Spire in there.
Nice.
But did purchase, but have yet to start, Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut on PS5. Nice. I'm very much looking forward to playing it again.
Yeah.
Love Ghost of Tsushima. We've talked about it quite a bit on this show.
Sure.
So very much looking forward to playing that. And there's a lot of things that I'm looking forward to playing, because we just heard a lot about a lot of stuff.
We did indeed.
And we'll come back to that. There's a few other things we need to talk about first.
Sure.
First off, DC Fandome will return on October 16th with updates about Gotham Knights and Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League.
Okay, interesting.
Tanner, what's your excitement level about these two games?
So Gotham Knights, for those of you who don't know, is the Batman sort of Arkham-based game, but it's based about the sort of subsidiaries of Batman, the understudies, the underlings. Sure. So it is, what is it, Nightwing,
Batgirl, Red Hood.
Is Robin,
and Robin
the fourth?
Yeah, because there's, I think it's Tim Drake's Robin.
Right.
I think is how it is.
So the four of those, and it's sort of like that asynchronous single player, I think, that kind of like GTA 5 did, but it seems like you can play it together with people.
Yeah, potentially some co-op action.
But that's being developed by Warner Brothers Montreal, right?
I think
WB?
Yes.
It's at least WB,
right.
but I think it's WB Montreal.
Because Rocksteady is Suicide Squad.
Right. So Gotham Knights, as someone who didn't play Arkham, what's the one that WB did?
Origins,
thank you. As someone who didn't play Arkham Origins, which I heard was good.
It's underrated for sure.
I have tempered expectations. I don't know how I'm going to like the whole four protagonist thing.
Yeah.
Which seems like it's going to happen in Suicide Squad as well, maybe. I am more excited for Suicide Squad than I am for Gotham Knights, though. Just because I know and have a better track record with Rocksteady. I really like some of the characters in Suicide Squad. Obviously, they were pulling some from the movie, with like King Shark being there as well. So I think overall I'm decently excited. I'm probably more excited to see the trailer for the Batman than anything else that might be announced on DC Fandome. Movie. Yeah, but we'll see.
Yeah, I'm sort of with you. No spoilers for Arkham Knight.
No.
But Gotham Knights is, even if it's not a canonical successor to Arkham Knight, it is at the very least sort of their own take on what would happen post Arkham Knight.
Yeah.
And we have, made it known that we're not wild about the way the story turns went in Arkham Knight.
Right.
So I'm a little skeptical about how good of a story they could realistically tell, especially now that, certain characters might be, changed in different ways and presented differently.
Yeah.
If you have played Arkham Knight, you probably know what I'm talking about. I'm just not overly enthused by the story potential of that game. On the other hand, I do think there's a lot of interesting story potential in Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, as it is subtitled.
I agree, yeah.
The one thing that I think they're going to struggle with getting me, I don't know how you can possibly kill Superman. I guess kryptonite has to be involved.
Sure.
But,
is it confirmed that's what they're doing, or is that their goal?
I mean, that initial story trailer,
right,
he was the only teased villain.
Yeah. So
villain.
Well, yeah, we'll see how that plays out, but I do like the seeds that we've seen so far for that more than the seeds we've seen, because we've seen a little bit more of Gotham Knights. I think it's a little bit further along.
Yeah, we've seen gameplay of Gotham Knights.
Yeah. Do we have a date for that? I don't know.
I don't think we have an exact date. I assume that would probably be forthcoming with this next trailer.
I don't know that we'll get a date for Suicide Squad, but hopefully, because Rocksteady's been quiet for a while now. So
that seems like a game that's probably primed for holiday-ish next year.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Especially with the current wave of Suicide Squad. Even though tangent, I'm annoyed by the way people are talking about the Suicide Squad as a bomb, or how it bombed at the box office.
Wait, people are really?
Yeah, because it did bomb in a sense
financially.
Yeah, but not only did it release
COVID
and it's day and date on HBO Max,
right.
So I'm there's a lot of factors.
Yeah,
and I think everyone agrees that it was a much better movie. So I don't see them burying that IP just because this one didn't get as much as the box office as the first one. Which was shit.
I think Birds of Prey did pretty well box office wise. So I would imagine they're smart. They're going to account for people doing exactly what we did with that movie.
Yeah,
we have never, as a group, gotten together in someone's living room and watched the movie before, but that's what we did for this, just because of the state of it. And hey, it's free. I already have HBO Max. Let's just do that. So that is gonna. There are more eyes on it than the box office would allow for.
Yeah,
and HBO seems pretty, or Warner, I should say, seems pretty, like they're sticking to their guns of the. Everything that comes out in the theater comes out day and day. Reminiscence did that. Malignant, which comes out this week, is doing that. All the other big releases, DC or not, Warner Brothers has just done that. So they're obviously either they don't want the bad press of, well, we're actually just going to go theatrical now, or they're seeing some sort of return, which I would imagine is the actuality. They're seeing some sort of return in, hey, we're getting people interested in HBO Max. Our subscription numbers have gone up. I'm sure there is a financial reason they keep sticking to their guns here. So I would not be surprised if they don't overreact to the bombing, quote unquote, of the movie.
I agree. And I think that they see the pop culture sort of cachet of Suicide Squad as an IP right now.
Yes.
I do think it's still oddly enough, as much as people panned the first movie, it became a pop culture phenomenon.
Yeah,
it really did.
Yeah, it
maintains that.
It's way more a thing than it was before the movie.
Absolutely.
In a similar way to Guardians or something, right? I read the Suicide Squad New 52 comics, but that's just because I loved Harley so much. That was not one of their front, 10 comics. So obviously, since they've built something, they want to maintain it. I think it'll be fine. I don't think they're going to overreact. So
tempered expectations for Gotham Knight, mild excitement, I would say, for Suicide Squad.
Yes.
Although, side note, Arkham Origins, solid game.
Yeah, I should play it.
I was really excited about it before it came out. The trailer was awesome. They had a story, beat that I didn't love. That was my only real complaint about it. Next story. Nintendo is reportedly adding Game Boy games to its Switch Online subscription service.
That's fun.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I wonder what that's going to bring.
Me too.
Do we get Pokemon Red?
You'd have to think so.
Right? I mean, if you want to play one Game Boy game, I feel like it's that.
Yeah.
I wonder what else they would bring, because a lot of, if you look back at the Game Boy Color catalog, a lot of them are ports of older Nintendo games. Like there's like Super Mario All-Stars and all the Mario ports. There are Mario games later on that were made for Game Boy, but initially it's just, this is so cool, I can play the first 3 Mario games on the go, which is awesome. But since those are already on Switch, maybe they'll bring in like Wario Land. I know that's a Game Boy game people really like. I'll be curious to see what else they port, because honestly, I had Game Boy at such a young age that all I needed was Pokemon and then just random like assorted titles.
Yeah.
Like shout out to Shrek. Oh God, Fairy Tale Freakdown was the name of that game. It was like
sounds awful.
It was like a fighting game with Shrek characters, and one of the levels was the wrestling ring in the beginning of the movie where he's like in Farquaad's area. So shout out to that game. I had an Arthur game, like PBS Arthur, but yeah, I don't know a lot about the extensive catalog of Game Boy, but Pokemon would be cool.
For me, it would be shout out to Kirby's Dream Land.
Oh, that's
the
one.
OG
I'm
Kirby's
sure that's
Dream
one people
Land.
are very excited for. Yeah.
Worth noting about this story that they said this is not, at least they're sort of denying or tempering that this could include Game Boy Advance games, at least not yet, because I think that's the era where you could really get, at least I guess that's a little bit of nostalgia based claim for me.
Sure, no, that's
where you bring in
Advance too.
Fire Red and Leaf Green,
right? That
era of Pokemon, Ruby, Pearl, Sapphire. You also get Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland, which is my favorite Kirby game ever.
Nice.
A lot of games from that era. I played a ton.
Also, you get like your what is it Final Fantasy Tactics that was a Game Boy Advance game, or Tactics Advance or whatever the clone of that was. Not sure if they would be able to get it from Square, but like I feel like Game Boy Advance has a much more lauded catalog now than the original Game Boy.
Yeah,
as pretty similar to the SNES catalog is a much more lauded catalog than the NES at this point.
And maybe that was skewed for me as a kid, where the Advance was backwards compatible with the Game Boy. So really, I was playing most games on the Advance and the Advance SP. Shout out the Coral, the little
laptop,
light blue Advance SP. I forget the long, complicated name that I talked about on that one episode, but love that console to death.
Yeah.
So mildly excited, even though I still haven't touched my Switch in a long time.
Yeah, I haven't either.
Give me a reason, Nintendo.
Breath of the Wild 2. That's all I need.
Final story before our big story,
cool.
topic. Horizon Forbidden West will offer free PS4 to PS5 upgrades. This was after they had originally promised this, and then they stated the opposite.
Yeah, in the pre-order
I believe a week or two ago.
Yeah.
Yes. And then PlayStation chose to backpedal this week and honor their original word to give the free upgrade for the game.
Which is smart.
Yeah.
It's not worth the complication of people getting so pissed about, hey, is this false advertising or whatever? Like, I don't think they saw a lawsuit impending, but, so much about gaming consoles and what gaming ecosystem you stick with now is about goodwill. And even like a lot of social media presence's branding in this era is about goodwill. And so, there's a reason that Xbox is like, yeah, whatever you buy, you can get it on Series X. Like, that's just get the upgrade. Yeah. That's fine. So good for them for coming back around to this. Because I did see originally it was like you had to pre-order like the deluxe edition or something to get both, which is very strange. But if a game's going to be playable on both, just give people the upgrade for free.
Yeah.
You've already made both versions. It's not going to cost you that much. Because you and I are both going to buy the PS5 version. There's going to be loads of people that just buy the PS5 version, and loads of people who just buy the PS4 version. But maybe somebody gets a PS4 and then for Christmas gets a PS5, and they haven't had a chance to fully play through it. Those kind of people you want to bring in and take care of now. That way they're PlayStation fans for as long as they can be.
There's a point at which it becomes reasonable to like shift the company strategy away from the free upgrade system.
Sure.
But obviously, PS5 still sell out in 10 seconds every time some become available. Like,
we have a friend who still can't get one.
Yeah. And I've, talked to a lot of people that are just, still without a PS5, and they're like, oh, you're so lucky you got one the first week. Like, so I understand that there's still a lot of people who by hook or by crook are trying to get one, but they're forced to play anything that they want right now on PS4.
Right, exactly.
Those people should still be catered to as much as possible. Otherwise, you're not going to sell that many PS4 games, and they might even jump ship to Xbox
if they can find an Xbox easier.
Those.
Yep, totally.
But at a certain point, once the PS5 has really saturated the market a lot more than it has already, then I think it's safe to say, especially because a lot of these PS4 games will probably be discounted. that you don't want to be losing that many dollars to get a free upgrade.
Well, and I think the other point that I kind of jumped on that I thought you were going to make was, at that point, once the PS5 is proliferated enough, they'll probably stop making the PS4 version anyway.
True.
I know that's sort of a newer model, is like most things are backward compatible, much like PC gaming, where, you know, an older PC can probably run a game, but you really want, you know, if you want to get the best experience, you're going to buy newer tech. It seems like console markets are kind of mimicking that lightly, except just with 2 console generations. But I assume at some point, whether that's a year from now, 2 years from now, these PS4 and PS5 games won't exist as often anyway.
I agree. Speaking of PlayStation.
Yeah.
We're hot off the heels.
Yeah, we literally just watched it.
Of the PlayStation Showcase. My face is still of a warmer temperature than it normally is. That was jam-packed. That was the kind of showcase that what we advocate for a lot is trailer.
Yep.
And man, that's exactly what that was.
Yep.
And as we were going through, I wrote down a list of every single thing that happened, and we're just going to go through it and give our takes for everything that just happened.
Cool. And just keep in mind, we're still kind of processing this.
Absolutely.
So this might be one of those things that as we're kind of coming up with the takes we have as we are talking about it. So that's why it's going to be such a big topic.
So, the showcase opened with a pretty classic stinger reel.
Yeah.
Featuring people in crowns playing chess.
Yeah, so I mentioned that they do this every so often and they've done this, I think, since like the PS3 generation. Like, they've done this a long time, where it's less based on the video games trailer and it's more just PlayStation the brand, right?
Yeah.
It's people, like, this one is just like this girl ends up taking this crown from this guy is like the storyline of the commercial. But in the background, there's like a statue of Aloy, and there's a portrait of Nathan Drake, and then there's like, you know, just little touches of PlayStation everywhere. And then at the end, it's like for the gamers or whatever it says. I forget what the tagline is. But it's the kind of ad you're gonna see during a football game, or you're gonna see before a YouTube video. Like it's one of those. It's gonna be shortened because this one was like a 2-minute version.
Yeah.
But you know, I like these little, I guess, tiny short film ideas. I think it's interesting. I think it sets PlayStation apart a little bit from your Xboxes that are just more game. I think both have a justification, but it was fun.
Yeah. What's this little stinger? I forget the little motto that they play at the end. Play has no limits.
That's it. I said for the gamers.
That's the motto that like I always think of with these commercials that are just like artsy sort of showing off the brand. So, after that, and a brief Jim Ryan intro.
Shout out. Soft-spoken man.
We were into the games.
Yes.
And the first game, Asper Games Studios remake of Knights of the Old Republic.
Yeah, very quick teaser for this. I mean, starting off with a Lucasfilm logo and a Sony Entertainment logo is always going to pique my interest.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm curious, because when we watched it, it did say Sony Interactive.
Yeah.
And then it had Lucasfilm. And at the end, it was just Lucasfilm, Asper, which I don't know anything else they've done.
Me neither.
And then the PlayStation logo. And our curiosities, I think, are both, is it exclusive?
Which my gut reaction says it can't be. Like, there's no way.
I don't know. I'm going to look up Asper and see if they've done anything else.
Yeah. What an odd property for PlayStation to just suddenly acquire or somehow be able to make exclusive. Like, this screams second party at the worst.
It is a console exclusive.
Wow.
At least according to Asper's Twitter. This is no Jedi mind trick. We're bringing Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic remake to PlayStation 5 as a console exclusive at launch and to PC in partnership with PlayStation and Lucasfilm. So
even still, to get any sort of exclusivity on that is weird and cool.
That's very cool.
Wow. And like we said, neither of us have ever played Knights of the Old Republic.
Right.
But it's one of those games that I've heard, talked about in like reverent tones for years. So I'm so curious for a game like that to be remade and, exclusively coming to PS5, Star Wars. When Star Wars is great, we know it's great. Yeah. So I'm very intrigued by the possibilities here.
Yeah, similar to you, I know this game basically only on its reputation. I have seen a little bit of gameplay, and it looks very old school PC. Yeah. So I hope that they sort of modernize it in that way, in the systems and all of that.
At least.
It looks like Asper has only done really some tie-in games before. So they did Star Wars Republic Commando, which was apparently on PlayStation and Switch. The Ruby game is in the Rooster Teeth property. They did Star Wars Jedi Knight, Jedi Academy, and Jedi Knight 2 Jedi Outcast. Don't know if those are ports or if those are original games. They did the Civ 6 port to mobile, and then they did the game Stubbs the Zombie, which I've actually seen on sale before. But it seems like a pretty new studio. They haven't done that much as far as their... well, apparently they were founded in 2005, but they're in Austin. They are owned by Saber, who have own a lot of game development companies. So, yeah, we'll see. I'm tentatively very excited.
Sure, absolutely. And, as we've talked about, PlayStation's sort of at a little bit of a crossroads when it comes to exclusives.
Yeah.
We were saying they had a lot of exclusives that are far off.
Sure.
And this is still kind of the case. But when you come right off of an announcement, you get that feeling again like, oh, PlayStation just got the leg up on Xbox with all these cool announcements, and this being one of them.
Yeah.
Next up, Project Eve.
Cannot believe this is what this was. In the first few minutes, I don't know what prompted me to say, I was like, is this Parasite Eve? Because the studio name, I forget what, it was like Shift Studio, I believe.
Okay.
But it was like Shift Studio Second Eve Company or something like that. Like it said Second Eve in the subtitle of the studio, and I was like, is this a studio just to make Parasite Eve? It turns out I think, at least neither of us have very much familiarity at all with Parasite Eve. I think it was just, we were probably too young to be into that level of, like, that deeply into games at that point. Because Parasite Eve, if you don't know, is a PS2 game. I think. But it's a very old, like, PlayStation exclusive property. Not old, but older. And this looks like, because they called the main character Eve a couple of times, it's called Second Eve. The project is called, right?
It's just Project Eve.
Project Eve, sorry. Yeah. The studio was Second Eve. And they literally said Eve, and then the next line was like, I'm a parasite. So it's clearly drawing the connection.
Yeah.
It looks kind of cool.
A little bit.
It's very actiony. It's Japanese, or at least dialogue was in Japanese. Has a little bit. You were saying that it has like a mix of a bunch of different games.
So they had Soulsiness with like big boss fights with like big health bars.
Yeah.
Has the sort of quick action of sort of like God of War vibes, or maybe even like it kind of gave me Bayonetta vibes.
That's a great comp. Yeah.
I think that's probably the closest comp if I had to summarize it all into one. Certainly had some Final Fantasy-ness to it.
Yeah, I thought for a second, because we got Square as the publisher, I was like, is this the new Final Fantasy? But and then quickly it turned into way more action-based and less system-based. And I was like, okay, it's not Final Fantasy. But they actually kind of sold me on it. Like, I think you said during the show, and I totally agree, that if this game sells well, or if it reviews well, then I'll probably give it a shot. But if it reviews as like a 6, then I'm probably not in. But I think there's a cool... It's its own lane for sure. And I think that's... I'm always going to applaud something doing really different stuff.
Yeah, and as we'll come back to later, one of the other comments that we made about the game was that the enemy design looked very unique.
Yes.
Weird, but in a good way.
Yeah.
That one big boss-looking creature that had like a circular head with a bunch of spikes on it.
Yeah, it looked
like
very
a
neat.
Spiked dog collar, but that was its whole head.
Right. It looked like a Mad Max villain or something, like the mask a Mad Max villain would wear. It was very interesting looking.
So yeah, I'm kind of into it.
Yeah, me too.
In a weird way.
Yeah.
Next up was Tiny Tina's Wonderlands.
Using Baby Metal's Give Me Chocolate, which is a great song.
We headbanged like hell during the stream.
I don't know how much attention we paid to this trailer because we were just jamming out to this song. I said during the reaction, I was just like, I wish I could play these games. So if you don't know, Borderlands gives me terrible motion sickness. I've tried on console, I've tried on PC. For whatever reason, the cell shading and the movement and the motion blur or the field of view or whatever just always makes me motion sick. There are very few things that make me motion sick anymore, but that's one of them. And I kind of wish they didn't, first of all, because I know people love that series, but especially for this game, because it does look different enough. Sure. It's got... So if you don't know, it's based on Tiny Tina, I guess, playing D&D, being like a DM for D&D.
It's like you're playing like the game that they're playing.
Right. And so it's a fantasy setting, but there are guns.
Yeah.
And even at one point in the trailer, she's like, and you're probably wondering why there are guns in fantasy. Oh, shut up, you're about to get shot. Like, it just completely like no selling it. It's pretty funny. But I love the tone of these games. These very saturated, very character heavy, and it looks cool.
Yeah. And sort of and you said, we were jamming out to Baby Metal during the trailer. I sort of preemptively tuned it out once I started hearing the song because I have made my, not disdain. I just have never been able to get into Borderlands.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair.
It's just one of those franchises that's weird. That like I love first person shooters. I love Destiny, which is probably the closest type of game that I play to Borderlands.
System wise, yeah.
And for whatever reason, Borderlands has just never clicked with me, other than Tales of the Borderlands.
Right. Oh yeah, I love Tales. Yeah.
But the proper series itself has just never done it for me. So I kind of know that this game isn't for me, even though I appreciate the weird change in tone and sort of.
Yeah.
It's weird to take a game that's already so irreverent and then in a weird way make sort of like a parody-ish game of it.
Yeah, really. That's a great way to describe it.
But I kind of respect that.
Yeah.
But still, to each their own. Hope people love this game, but probably not for me. Great song, though.
Yes, I will say one other thing about it quickly. It does seem like more of a game than I thought it was when it was announced.
Sure.
When they announced it, it was like, oh, fantasy spin-off Borderlands. I was like, okay, that's probably like a shorter game. It's kind of like what the pre-sequel was, right? It was kind of the in-between. But it seems like this might be pre-sequel ended up being more of a game than I thought it was too. So this might just be the next chapter in Borderlands, and that's fun. I like it as sort of a palate cleanse for people who are itching for that experience.
Also, within the trailer, there was that one little section that was like top down.
Yeah, what was that?
I don't know. That's kind of cool.
Was it just like an homage to fantasy
think so.
games?
I think that just like a little section of the game will be like,
there might be a mission. Yeah,
you decide like, oh, we're playing this top down, so we can like see everything from that perspective. I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, it's like you're roaming a map and your heads are big and like it looks like the Ni no Kuni map. I know it looks like that. Yeah. So that was a fun little moment for sure.
The game that I think I have the most either split down the middle or just don't have enough information yet to make a judgment on is the next game that was shown, which is Forspoken.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know exactly what this game is yet. We know that Gary Whitta is writing it. You and I both like Gary Whitta. Obviously, Gary Whitta is tied to Kind of Funny, but also he wrote Book of Eli.
Rogue One, baby.
He wrote Rogue One,
my
favorite
movie.
Star Wars movie. Yeah. He's written lots of cool stuff, and it's cool to bring in someone, because we know he loves video games because he talks about it on Kind of Funny all the time. So someone who has both the experience from outside of it and be able to bring like a screenplay writing perspective to writing a game. The gameplay is just, I don't know what it is yet.
Yeah. We've seen a lot of the traversal.
Yes.
But I don't think we've seen enough of the actual like action or combat, assuming there is a lot of that, which I think we could pretty safely assume there is that.
Yeah.
Especially with that tease of that weird looking crown lady at the end that you're fighting.
Yeah. What was her name? It was
Tunt.
It was Tunt something, because
I think that might have just been
it was a subtitle. Yeah, it was a subtitle mess up, but it said Tunt Masur or something like that.
Yeah, something weird.
It's some fantasy name, but the concept of like a regular day person being dragged into this fantasy world is a cool way for me to get into fantasy stuff. I'm not a huge fantasy person, but also like the gameplay, like the combat, I should say, looked kind of cool because it was like she was shooting a gun, but with her mind in her hand.
Yeah.
It almost reminded me of Control in that way.
Yeah,
it has a bit of Control vibes.
Control
or
Infamous sort of vibes where like it's purely based on your own. You're not using a gun. You're using some sort of energy that's emitting from you.
Right.
And you were talking about like the fish out of water of like, seems to be like normal person inexplicably transported to weird fantasy dragon world.
Yeah.
I don't know if I love that. I'm getting
interesting. Okay.
I think I like the concept. I don't like the dialogue that's been shown in these trailers.
Yeah, the whole like Fred thing.
It's like, oh my god, there's a freaking dragon. I'm just like, this is not the way normal people talk.
Yeah, it might be overwritten, but that also might just be, oh, we're pulling the most ridiculous lines of dialogue for this trailer, or maybe
really like trying to paint the picture of what is going to happen in the game.
Right. So hopefully it's a little less written than that, or at least feels a little less scripty.
Yeah.
But I'm going to hold out for reviews here. Again, if it reviews well, then I'm probably in, because I like what Gary Whitta has done writing wise. And
because I really love the way the traversal looks, like fast, fluid, sort of.
If you've not seen this game, it reminds me of, and I don't know that it's directly tied, but it reminds me of that early PS5 demo of the woman like going through Egypt or wherever she was and like kind of flying, and
she's going to be playable in Fortnite.
Is she? Oh, that's fun.
The person from that demo, which is so strange.
Because it was like an epic demo, right? That's what I thought. So it kind of reminds me of that from a traversal standpoint, which looks fun.
Yeah, I agree. So some pros to this game, some weird cons, just not enough information yet.
Yeah. To be determined.
Now, the other game that, in terms of enemy design, that we have some stuff to say is Rainbow Six Extraction.
Yeah, so I think we kind of shared our piece during E3 about this because the Ubisoft show was bad.
It was bad.
They spent way too much time on this specific game. At least today it was a very quick, seemed a little bit more like story-based, pre-rendered kind of trailer. It wasn't much gameplay. There was a little bit at the end. But I mentioned to you that this reminds me of that meme that's like, okay, you can borrow my paper, but just don't copy-paste.
Yeah. And
the enemies look nearly copy-pasted from the Hive from Destiny, but somehow less cool.
Yeah, more generic.
Like they dulled them down. But it's weird that those are even that similar. The enemy design in this is so boring. To me, as someone who, again, neither of us played Rainbow Six Siege, this whole thing just looks boring. It just looks like a boring... It looks like a video game you would see someone play in a movie or a show.
Yeah.
Like,
I agree.
Like you'd see somebody's kid playing that and they'd be like, oh, put your game down. Like it looks like a fake pre-rendered game as opposed to an actualized, real, like fully fledged game. It's very weird.
Yeah, it sort of hits me like there was a time a few years ago where I got oversaturated with open world games. So I was no longer automatically in to like every Assassin's Creed or every game like that came out.
Yeah.
And I hit that point, I guess this last year because we decided to skip Call of Duty. I sort of hit that point with shooters where I was like, I don't need to play. And I've sort of thought this for a while. I think shooters have been overexposed for like 5 or 6 years now.
I agree.
And I think this is just the most recent and I think most obvious example of them just sticking the Rainbow Six name onto a random game and just saying, let's push this out there. It'll probably sell a few good copies.
That's a great point. It does feel like an afterthought of Rainbow Six as opposed to designed from the ground up to be a Rainbow Six experience.
I'm as far out on this game as you could possibly be.
This is a game that I would not play if it was a PlayStation Plus game. That's how out I am on it. Yeah. Like I don't think it's worth my time from what I've seen.
It would take, because I don't, is it 3-person co-op?
Yes.
It's 3 or 4.
I think it's 3. I think you're right.
It would take like either you and Skinny or like 2 or 3 of our friends,
right?
Like begging me on your knees to come play this with you, for me to get in.
Yeah, it would take. You're right. It would take some killer testimonials for me to even be convinced to buy it on sale.
How about a game that I've also never played?
Okay,
but it's coming back. Very interesting. First time on PlayStation. Alan Wake.
Yeah. So
from Remedy Entertainment.
You and I both popped for Remedy. I think mainly because of Control. We both really like that game,
and because I played the DLC,
AWE,
which relates to Alan Wake.
Oh, right, makes sense. Is it the Alan Wake expansion? That's what I called All.
Yeah, have you ever played it?
No, I've not played it.
Yeah, Alan Wake is literally in it.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah, I knew there was some like crossover there. Remedy's cool. This looks old. I will say, like it looks like a remaster of an old game. That's okay. I'm really excited for the people who are nostalgic for it. This was one of those games that I feel like friends of mine had, but I never really played it. I just knew it was a guy with a flashlight. That's all I really knew, and that's all we really got from the trailer.
Sure.
You mentioned that I don't really even know what this game is outside of just it's a guy with a flashlight who's a rider and there's a gun. So I'm curious to give it a try. I think it probably will be. I'm sold on it enough to pick it up, I think.
Sure. I don't think it'll be a full price game because I don't think the original was even considered like a full-fledged AAA game.
Yeah, because it was kind of like a prove your metal game for Remedy, if memory serves. But I'm into it enough to pick it up at $40 and stream it and enjoy the experience.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think I got to the final boss of that expansion for Control, and I don't think I ever beat it. But my understanding, I could be wrong.
Yeah,
it's been a little bit. I think the sort of crux of the story is that Alan Wake's writings sort of like come to life in like this weird, like distorted paranormal way.
Gotcha.
I could be wrong about that. That seemed to be the vibe that the DLC gave off, though.
Okay.
But the weird, dark, paranormal, twisted fantasiness of it is cool. Like the vibe of it is awesome.
I like the idea of a horror world, but not necessarily a horror game. Like it has a very like Stephen King vibe to it.
Oh yeah.
And I could totally get into that. I'm not someone who loves horror games that are just designed to scare you, but sort of like that spooky, Until Dawnness
Yeah.
of like, it's not that scary, but it's got a scary world. I'm all in on that. So.
And the last thing I'll say about it is that, yes, it looks old, but my also limited understanding of Alan Wake as a game tells me that it's one of those games that the gameplay doesn't need to be super fluid. That it's
Sure.
like, there's limited gameplay,
Yeah.
but it's more about the story and the atmosphere.
It's like old school Silent Hill, where it's
Yeah.
like you're just walking around and experiencing a lot of stuff, and then you have to shoot a couple enemies.
Yeah. Next game, the classic, the evergreen, never dying GTA 5.
Listen, something that I mentioned during our reactions was, are they going to sucker me into buying it again? The answer is yes.
Yeah,
I'm probably going to buy it again, because this game came out again in 2013, 8 years ago. It's still coming out. Someone in chat, I think it was Nyan, someone in chat mentioned that there's going to be basically a war between Skyrim and GTA 5.
And there's another version of Skyrim coming out this year, and you're damn right I'm going to buy it.
And basically which game will die first, but we're all going to be too old to know who wins. I am mildly excited to jump back in with GTA 5. It's been long enough that I kind of have the itch. Of course, wish it was GTA 6, but I'll play GTA 5 again, sure.
Yeah, me too. Like, it really has been, because I never got into the online. I know you didn't much, right?
I dipped my toe in, I would say, but yeah, I kind of went through phases, but not a lot.
I think I had one like brief, like not with the online, but just like, I'll replay GTA. Oh, it was when it got first released on PS4,
right? Which
I
also
replayed
bought
it again for the first time, and I was like, okay, I've had enough. I haven't touched it since, really.
Yeah.
So yeah, if it comes out in like, and I think it's March of next year, I think is when they said this was coming out.
Okay.
Which, if there's not a much around it,
I was gonna say, if it's in a dead period,
yeah, it'd be the perfect thing to fill some time.
sure.
Next thing,
Can I have another beer?
absolutely.
Thank you.
Can't wait for this football game.
God, the silver bullets.
Hey man, they keep coming.
They're so cold still.
They are, man.
They've been sitting here for
They're
like an
in a stack
hour.
over here. They're straight out of the beer fridge, man.
Shout out.
Shout out to beer fridges.
Yeah, really.
I wish I had one.
Shout out to the liquor store that's like literally 2 minutes from my house. That's
Exactly.
awesome for
It
how
is
small
great.
it is.
Next game. Another game similar to Forspoken in the sense that I know not enough about it to even make a good judgment call is Ghostwire Tokyo.
Yeah. You.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, I knew that's what you're talking about when you said it. You made the key point here, which was, I have zero expectations for what this game is,
And not in a bad way.
no, like it could be a 10 or it could be a 6, and I would buy either one. Like, it's just so, it's very its own thing.
Yeah.
It seems unique. The enemy design is cool. There's a lot of modern and classical Japanese influences to this. Can't quite get a grasp on what the gameplay is personally. It seems like there is some like first person combat, maybe.
It's clearly first person combat, but the question is it open world? Is it sort of like almost like a linear like Mirror's Edge kind of situation? I get a little bit of Mirror's Edge vibes from it.
Yeah, someone mentioned Quantum Break, which was not a game I had thought about for a while, but I was like, yeah, that's a pretty decent comp.
Wasn't that a TV show too?
Yes, and wasn't it a Remedy game?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
To come back to Remedy?
Lordy.
Shout out.
That was a bad idea.
Yeah, I don't know why they made it a TV show.
Yeah, and this is, one of the last stands for Bethesda on PlayStation as well.
Yep.
And that's just, again, and we'll come back to Deathloop.
We always do.
It's so weird to like think that something within these two games screams, we're just going to put these out because they're there, and this is not Bethesda's best work because they just got acquired by Xbox.
Yeah.
In a weird way.
I totally agree. I wonder if at some point they shifted to that strategy, because I feel like not less so with this because I've just never known what this is.
Sure. We've certainly seen a hell of a lot less of it.
Sure, but with Deathloop, I feel like there was so much more promise. And then, like you said, I think there was a point where it just became, whatever the game is, just ship it. We need to move, like, we have to contractually, oblige with this. We kind of backed ourselves into a corner here, but once that's over, we can be all Xbox. Yeah. And it just seems like that's one thing that has me a little bit out on both of them is how much attention are they really going to care if this is a great game on PlayStation, because they're about to just completely leave the ecosystem. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's a strange one. And yeah, I foresee it being like a 7.8.
That seems totally
with incredibly limited information.
Yep.
So we'll see. Another G game, In fact, 2 G's.
Oh.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Right.
This trailer, again, this game comes out next month.
Which is wild.
Which is weird. This trailer, I think, showed off the last trailer showed off the gameplay the most.
Yeah.
This one showed off more of just the atmosphere in the world and like the weird side characters that you'd probably encounter.
Yeah.
And I commented that, I like the way they're leaning into the really zany intergalactic, characters that you might encounter. I like that.
Yeah.
I think I said at the time that at that moment I was pretty in. I wasn't sold completely.
Sure.
The gameplay looked a smidge janky.
It did.
And I'm assuming it still is going to be a smidge janky.
Yeah. I
don't know where I'm at with this game right this moment.
Interesting.
Where are you at?
I'm kind of glad you voiced that because I'm at the exact same point.
Yeah.
I just assumed that because you are more into Marvel than I am.
I'm probably still more in on it than you. But
sure, but there's part of me that thinks this is the right move to differentiate it from the movie, right? To make it a little bit more of a collection of smaller stories as opposed to one, larger, shorter story. I am more intrigued now with the cast of villains that I may have not heard of, and what is it, the Church of Truth or whatever, the Ultimate Church of Truth,
Church of Universal Truth. I don't know.
That's it,
something like
Universal Church of Truth. That one. That's interesting. I don't know what that is. That sounds kind of cool. The big world mind that he was talking to, that's kind of cool.
Yeah. At first I thought that because of those people were had weird crowns. That person had a gold band across their face.
Yeah.
I at first thought that was the same race of people from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, the movie. And I forget the name of those people, but they're literally had gold skin.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's the same thing.
Okay, that makes sense.
I don't think
so. Because they were in that throne room in 2, right? They just...
And he tries to hit on the queen.
Right.
And then
were they the people of Adam? No, that's not right.
Oh, well, what's the character?
There's something about Adam.
But he's at the end. He's in the post-credit scene.
Gotcha. And he's going to be...
Adam Warlock.
That's it.
Yeah.
Is he going to be Keanu Reeves? Is that right?
I don't know.
Anyway, so, yeah, I like that they're kind of differentiating themselves. The gameplay is still just what I'm unsurest about.
Yeah.
Because it looks, at least you said it looks pretty similar to what the Avengers gameplay was, maybe a little bit kookier, but I was never really sold on the Avengers gameplay, so I'm just completely unsure here.
Yeah, the Avengers gameplay has its moments.
Sure.
As a person who has played the single player and really dug the single player and has touched the multiplayer or extended missions very little.
Right.
The story of Avengers is really, really solid. I really, really like it. But it varies from character to character, and playing as primarily Star-Lord, which is what it looks like this game is going to be.
Yeah.
And just the shooting part of it is the less inspired parts of Avengers to me.
Okay.
So, I don't know. I really don't know because I love Guardians of the Galaxy as a property so much.
Yeah, this
now.
universe is cool, and it seems like there's a lot of opportunities for, almost in the same way that Jedi Fallen Order kind of expanded that universe a little bit and just showed you weird creatures, and there were little funny moments and little things like that. I like the idea of a world that has this much character. I just don't know if the gameplay is going to be enough to sustain me wanting to explore that world. And
I think part of the thing that has soured me over time, because I remembered the announcement of this game being in development, that it had leaked, or just seeing a story on the internet.
Yeah.
And then the first trailer we saw at Square Enix's E3 conference.
Yeah.
Over time, I'm starting to realize more and more these characters are really just kind of just cheap dollar store versions of the MCU.
They are,
and it's bothering me more and more.
I forget who was it. Imran that originally made that point,
Maybe.
when it first came out. And at the time, I was like, well, they have to. I think even on this podcast, I was like, they have to have some sort of connection to the movie. That way, your casual Marvel fan will know who they are. But it seems like maybe it was this trailer that was that moment for me too, where it's like, oh man, they really are just very similar to the movie. And the movie was a pretty, big jump from the comics from what I've been told. So it's Drax looks just like Drax, but with a different skin, basically.
Different paint job.
Star-Lord is basically the same exact character. Yeah. So I'm hoping they draw those lines a little bit clearer in the game.
So at this point, I'm going to call myself soft out, at least at $70.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
So
maybe wait for a sale game.
Yeah. Here's a game that I know nothing about that at least you knew a little something about, which
Okay.
was Vampire the Masquerade, and this is Blood Hunt is the subtitle.
So I get, and I talked about this on the stream, I get Vampire the Masquerade and Vampyr, Vampyr. I get those two games confused. Vampire the Masquerade is the more action combat-y one. Vampyr is more of like an RPG detective game, which I've seen more of Vampyr than I have Vampire the Masquerade because I had a couple buddies who streamed it. But those games came out around the same time. They were both kind of PC-ish games, and I just get them confused because they're both vampire games. But this, apparently, people knew in chat that this was already a game. Like, this has already been in testing. For those of you who don't know, it is a battle royale with vampire classes. So there's one that's a little bit more like, I think it's literally called Nosferatu. One that's a little bit more like, not Twilight, but sort of, urban, modern people as vampires. And there's some that are like more like Van Helsing type vampires. So it's kind of, I guess the idea is they're bringing these classes in of so many different iterations and ideas of vampires as a whole and making them all fight. Which it sounds cooler in concept, I think, than it does in execution, or at least in what we saw. I'm not drawn to this at all.
Me neither, unless it's free to play.
Which I assume it is.
If it's free to play, might give it a shot.
Yeah.
This is certainly not a game that I would ever pay money for. But there was an aspect of it, the cool, using powers and, sort of warping from, gargoyle rooftops to, the floor to, sneakily attack someone. I'm like, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So there's aspects of it that were interesting, but on the whole, not, even though I'm into battle royales as a genre, something about this one, not entirely a fan.
I'm looking to see what the price is on Steam.
For just Vampire the Masquerade?
No, for Blood Hunt.
It's okay.
It is free to play on PC,
Okay.
so I imagine it'll be free to play on PlayStation as well.
Cool.
Just trying to expand that universe a little bit. I respect it.
Me too.
I could see people being into it. I could also see it going the way of Hyperscape.
Yeah, the one, yeah.
The Ubisoft free-to-play battle royale that people just stopped caring about.
Yeah. But you know what I don't respect?
What's that?
Is how much Deathloop they've shown us in the last year.
I feel like this could be a topic all its own, about how not to present a game. So I posited that I think this is the 5th trailer we've seen for Deathloop at a major conference. I want to say it was debuted at E3 2019 or 2018. And it's been at every Bethesda show since. So basically I did Bethesda, and then it was at the PlayStation State of Play. It was focus of that you and I watched and scoffed at.
Yeah.
And then it was at this. And so many of the trailers have been the exact same information. Now, I did get the feel from this because it does come out next Tuesday. It's out by the time you're hearing this, probably. I did get the feeling from this that this is the YouTube pre-roll. They're going to cut it down to a 30-second ad. It's going to be during, sporting events, and it's going to be the main ad they're using for this game. It does have that, finality to it. But again, it's just, there's nothing... I don't think there's anything that they could say to sell you and me on it anymore, which is sad because I was so in on this game for a while, but they've shown so much of it. You mentioned, and I think it's dead on, that it feels like we've already played it.
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel about it, is that I've never touched this game. Previews about this game were sort of popping off on the internet a few weeks ago, and they were relatively positive.
Yeah.
And yet...
Arcane makes good games.
I'm just I've seen so much that unless there is some either unique mechanic or weird halfway through plot twist that I just could not see coming, which I don't foresee.
Right.
But at this point, I'm not invested enough to even pay the money to find out. So unless...
It's a great way to put it.
Once the game gets super duper cheap or hits plus, it's a different story. But hell no, I'm not paying for this game right in the dead of fall when there's a lot of games that are about to come out.
Right. Ugh. Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think it's such a shame. This is just an example of oversaturation. And,
big time.
We have such differences even in this particular, games conference of, Deathloop being so oversaturated. And then there were a couple of things I'm like Guardians. Guardians we just learned about, really, for the first time in June. Yeah. And it comes out next month. That feels so much fresher and newer than Deathloop does, which we've been hearing about for so long, and it comes out next week.
And even though I think you could argue, I would argue the gameplay of Deathloop looks more interesting than Guardians.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, 100%.
And yet, it's just something weird about the marketing that
Yep.
has totally turned us off.
Yeah.
And we've, spoke
bizarre.
ad nauseum about it because they've shown us ad nauseum about the game.
For real, yeah.
And that's sort of the opposite of what I want. I want a little mystique for a game like this, and I feel like all the mystique is gone. So,
Yeah, I think you show one trailer revealing it, that initial Bethesda trailer, and then you just don't talk about it until it's done.
Yeah.
And then you show, here's what the gameplay was. Oh, I remember the style of this. It looks so cool. Wow, this world's interesting. I'm sold. I think they showed too much.
Yeah, I agree. Tanner, maybe the thing that we can talk the least about is whatever the hell this kid amnesia thing is with Radiohead.
So
whatever this is, I have no idea what this is.
So I'm aware. I've dipped my toe in the Radiohead waters. I feel like if I were younger, if I were older and was young during their prominence, I'd probably be into Radiohead.
Sure.
But just timelines that never matched up. Like they're too young for my mom to be into them. They're too old for me to be into them. I like some of their albums. I've listened to a couple of them.
Creep's a good song.
Creep is a good song. What is the one that's like music for a motion picture, music for a film, whatever, the Fight Club one? They have some good songs and I like their sound, but this is what looks like a showcase. I think they called it a showcase. It's like the Kid A Amnesia showcase because Kid A was a Radiohead album. So I'm wondering if this is just like a museum type thing where you walk through and you're experiencing visuals that accompany the album. In which case, I'm kind of in. That sounds kind of cool. That seems like an interesting way to spend, an hour or whatever. But outside of that, I have no idea what this is.
I was gonna say, and all I can say is, congrats to you Radiohead fans out there. I couldn't give less of a shit. So let's just move on to the next thing, which is Chia, but spelled with a T.
Chia.
Chia.
Yeah, we just kept saying Chia. So this is the game, if you watch the PlayStation Showcase, that looks like it's made in dreams.
It looks like they made Breath of the Wild meets what's the
everything?
Game? But also, I didn't mention it at the time. The fruit, making yourself into a fruit. You eat fruit.
Oh, Bugsnax?
It's like Bugsnax meets Breath of the Wild made in dreams. That's how I would describe it.
Yeah, so it looks very Zelda-ish. It's in line with a few of the games that we've seen that are like, oh, I really like Breath of the Wild. Let's make that on a smaller scale. Which, I really like Breath of the Wild too. I don't blame people for making it, but the mechanics seem weird in a kind of interesting way.
They seem like a lot.
Yeah, so you can, if you've ever played the game Everything, which is the subject of Wario 64, one of his favorite jokes, which is just to go, everything is on sale on Steam for 99 cents. It's kind of like that, where you are this main character. I assume her name is Chia. I don't know. Chia. We just kept doing that. But she can become different things in the world. So she can become like this pigeon or like this little butterfly. Like she can transform it. It's like Animorphs.
Yeah.
So I don't know exactly what that's. I'm sure there's going to be puzzle solving and things like that. But it looks. I wish it looked a little bit better. Like if it just looked a smidge better visually, I might be sold on it. But unless this game review's crazy good, I think I'm probably out.
Yeah, I said during the showcase that this is about as far away of a game being made for me as possible.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it appeals far more to me than you. But even it felt like it was made in dreams, and I could just go play it in dreams right now. Yeah. Like I don't know.
And acknowledging these sort of blatant mechanic ripoffs, like the glider from Breath of the Wild that was shown a lot in that show.
Yeah, and then there was like the slingshot from other Zelda games. Yeah. Like they clearly wanted to make a Zelda game.
So I was like, no, not for me. Then lastly, before the Herman Hulst tease.
Yeah, the Hulst
that
bomb.
I'll officially call it.
The H-bomb.
The last thing was the Uncharted 4 and Lost Legacy remastered announcement, which kind of comes out of nowhere for me.
Yeah. Who's doing it? They didn't say, did they?
No, they did say.
It was so the way they did the trailer was weird. It was like, here's just gameplay from Uncharted 4 and Lost Legacy. Oh yeah, we're remaking it or remastering it for PS5 and PC. So I think the big news to come out of that is actually that's coming to PC.
Sure.
Is Nathan Drake Collection one of the ones you can play on PC? I'm not sure
either.
But I was excited for this, A, because I've owned Lost Legacy forever and never played it, and B, we both think that Uncharted 4 is weirdly underrated now. So I'm excited for more people to experience this for the first time, especially, again, we talked about this with the PS4 a lot, but, if you grew up an Xbox person or just have only experienced Nintendo games or whatever, and the PS5 is your first PlayStation console, then you can play Uncharted, you can play the Nathan Drake collection, then you can play this in beautiful, 60 frames and all that, and then you can play Lost Legacy, and you can get this series that you've heard so much about. You can experience that for the first time. I know that someone in chat was mentioning, I've just been meaning to start Uncharted, and this might be the thing that spurs them on, so maybe that'll happen for other people. And it's a great series, so I'm excited for the people who get to experience it again.
Yeah.
Or for the first time.
I think I've played Uncharted 4 3 times.
Okay, I've only played it once.
I played it when it originally came out. I played it once right as soon as I got my PS4 Pro. And then I've played it once since then.
I need to play it again.
As it runs marginally better on the Pro.
Yeah.
But the upgrade that it's going to get on this, and yeah, every time I play it, I like it more. It has grown on me every time. I had sort of like my initial like sort of critiques of it when it first came out, but separated from that first playthrough and sort of accepting what you know about the game,
about the story beats.
Yeah,
and stuff.
It absolutely grows and has become right there on par with 2 and 3 in my head.
Wow, yeah.
So absolutely love Uncharted 4. I've played maybe the first 2 to 3 maybe 2 hours of Uncharted Lost Legacy and put it down. This is a good reason for me to come back to that game.
Yeah, I'm excited too because Lost Legacy has always been one where I've had it, I've downloaded it, and then I've deleted it to make space again. Yeah. But the reason I've never played it is because do I want to stream it? Will people care? It doesn't have the same fervor obviously as the other Uncharted games, but I know people like it, and it's like, do I make a YouTube thing? I've never known what to do with it, and I feel like with the sweeping, it's out again, then I can probably stream it and have it be a little bit more of a stream game than it might be right now.
Yeah, I agree. So, then Herman Hulst comes out.
The H-bomb, man.
And says some weird things. And you pointed out the tense of some of the words that he was using.
It was strange. So he was like, he came out in the same way that like in most conferences, someone would come out and say, and we've got one more thing to show you. Like it was around the 40-minute mark. We knew it was going to be 40 minutes. So we were like, okay, well, we got one more trailer. But he was like, with the exclusives you'll see. He said, you will. And then at some point he said, enjoy. So we were like, are we about to just get a flurry of announcements? And we did.
Because you could have picked that up and put it right at the beginning. Yeah. And it would have fit perfectly well.
I thought you nailed it because it was like, this just feels like a weird editing choice. Like they didn't know where to put it. So instead they put it at the end and the tenses were a little bit weird.
But lo and behold, it was perfect.
Yeah, they nailed it.
Because the first game that came right after Herman Hulst was Insomniac's Marvel's Wolverine.
Out of complete nowhere.
Not even a whisper of this game anywhere. I've not heard a
whimper of it. Yeah, I was like, I was completely shocked. And looking back and seeing the trailer again, because I just quickly edited the clip for Twitter, like, we probably should have known it was Wolverine.
Yeah, I know, but you're under the assumption that it's Spider-Man.
Right. You're just trying
to... this is weird New York dive bar. Like, some villain is about to present themselves. They're going to be present in Spider-Man 2.
Right. We were so hyper-focused on how is this Spider-Man that we completely missed the clues that it was Wolverine. Yeah. I am incredibly excited for this. Insomniac, what a mad studio with however many, who was it, Jason Schreier, that made the joke that was like
10,000 employees.
My favorite reveal was that Insomniac actually has 10,000 employees. Like, how many games can these people make? I'm so excited, and with the care and love and obvious passion they had for the Spider-Man franchise, I'm sure that'll carry over to Wolverine. I love Insom, and I hope that they don't just make Marvel games, but if they do, cool. If that's what they want to do, they do it well, and I'm happy with it.
I have one simple request for this game. You can probably guess what it is.
All right.
It better be rated M.
Oh, yeah.
You cannot
That's a good point.
Do a Wolverine game like this and not go full bore with the violence and, really let you go to town.
Well, even when it was showing like the guy, crumpled over in the corner or whatever.
It was certainly like a dirty, gritty trailer.
Yeah, I was like, is this Spider-Man? Like, it didn't feel like Spider-Man. But, so I hope that the feelings are pretty, clear and cut, and maybe it is a little bit darker.
Yeah.
What's interesting to me is this is the first new franchise Insom has started since Spider-Man. Like, they went back to Ratchet and Clank. There were rumors that Sunset Overdrive might be getting a port, whatever. But like, this is this may be the first time we see Insom do a really adult game.
Yeah,
because most of their games are a little bit more poppy and fun, and everybody can play them, even if they appeal to everybody. It's like a Nintendo game or something. So I'm really intrigued to see the tone of this.
I'm incredibly excited. Because there's no doubt in my mind this game will be anything less than good.
Oh yeah,
it's Insomniac. And I think this is going to push me over the edge to maybe say that Insomniac is probably the premier developer of video games in the world.
With their pace and quality, it's incredible.
Like, sure, their games might not be like The Last of Us or GTA, but they're putting out a 9+ out of 10 game pretty much every year.
Yeah.
Which is unbelievable.
It's incredible.
Kudos. Bridging the gap between this and the other cool things was Gran Turismo 7.
Which we should say for a lot of people is very, very cool. I mentioned to you that this maybe isn't that cool for the people who will be watching this showcase, like, you and I, but it will be cool. I'm sure it'll do major numbers on YouTube. Yeah. I know some people who only have a console to play Gran Turismo. That was a thing back in the PS3 days. It was like, the reason I bought my PS3 was for when Gran Turismo came out.
Yeah.
It'll look great. It'll make full advantage, as all racing games do. It's going to look cool on the console. It's a great ad thing they can throw in. We haven't seen a Gran Turismo game forever. It's been so long since... was it 6 or was it like Sport? That was a game, Gran Turismo Sport. So, happy for the fans of those games. This is probably the most die-hard simulation-y racing game. I was kind of hoping that maybe they'd show off a little bit more like Forza lean and be a little bit more fun, but kudos to them for sticking to their guns. I'm happy for the people who are happy for it. I probably won't buy it, but
yeah. Oh, we need it for the Stinger trailer reels.
Exactly.
We need it for just that purpose.
And that's it.
Exactly. So glad it exists.
Get in, get out.
And I'm going to present this as such because I could probably argue that this might be 2 of my top 5 most anticipated video game sequels of all time.
Back to back.
Back to back.
Yeah.
The first of which was Spider-Man 2.
Which I did not see coming at all.
No, me neither.
So we see this...
And we said that when the Marvel Studios logo dropped for Wolverine, because we assumed that's what it was. We were like, we didn't think we'd see it.
I saw a tweet today that was like, all y'all thinking you'll see Spider-Man 2, what do you expect from Insomniac? They're just human. Like, they need time.
And then they just curb stomped that person twice.
Yeah. They destroyed whoever that was.
Oh.
What a terrible take to have, unfortunately. But, like, it seemed like a rational take at the time. Like, yeah, they need more time. They haven't, Miles Morales just came out last year. We saw this sort of grungy neon cityscape, and I thought, holy shit, they're doing Infamous. Which was then...
Which, if that had happened, I would have left the room. Like, I'd have had to.
But, there was this, it looked super neon. I was like, okay, maybe. And then there was a lightning bolt, which you pointed out was yellow and not blue. But, just the fact that it's Spider-Man 2 is incredible. Yeah, Insomniac just flexing on everyone.
Yeah, and so to break down what actually happened, and this is a purely cinematic trailer.
I'm not going to lie, I kind of blacked out a little bit. Like, I don't remember I was keeping beats of it.
Because
I'm glad you do.
So basically you have Peter Parker and Miles Morales fighting in tandem. Seemingly, the yellow bolts of lightning indicate that Electro is still out and about, probably. And that seems to be the only villain that I picked up on them actually fighting. But then there is a voiceover, clearly of some Eastern European persuasion.
Yeah.
That I can only assume is Kraven the Hunter.
Because he was talking about like finally meeting someone
having like a challenge.
Right, who meets his powers. So that sounds very Kraven.
Yeah, and Kraven's Last Hunt, which I've never read, but I'm familiar with the comic story of like Spider-Man is his like ultimate, predator-prey relationship. He's trying to hunt down Spider-Man.
Yeah, it's the most dangerous game, basically.
Yeah, and then basically he's like, will you give me that challenge? But then instead of a response from Peter Parker or Miles Morales, we hear the distorted alien symbiote Venom voice respond saying like, yes, we will. And then we see Venom's face and that's it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, don't say anything else about this game for 2 years.
Yeah, just let it come out.
Because it doesn't, and they announced 2023.
Right.
And I'm like, do not say anything else about it until right before it comes out.
Did they put a date on Wolverine?
No.
Okay. I assume it's next year, but maybe it's further. Who knows? They just wanted to excite us, and they did.
Lordy.
Yeah, no, I I'm so excited. I love the idea of Peter and Miles teaming together. That feels so fresh and new for this franchise that has had a lot of IP lately. Like, I'm stoked.
Yeah, me too,
I'm beyond stoked. You and I were both probably higher on Miles than a lot of people were, I think.
Oh, Miles Morales was amazing.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think a lot of people, it seemed weird. There was a wave of like, it's too short dialogue coming out. And then there was another wave of like, nah, this is perfect. Like, this is all I need. I assume this will be a little bit more girthier, I'd say, than Miles Morales, but
of course, yeah.
I don't mind. I'm so excited.
And here's what I'll say is I loved Spider-Man 1. It was awesome.
Yep.
The Sinister Six, kind of, a well-tread Spider-Man trope. A lot of your classic, Doc Ock, Vulture, Electro, like all these, classic villains.
Yeah.
But Venom has always been my favorite Spider-Man villain. And I've really just been dying to see a really good iteration of either Venom or Carnage. I love them both.
Right.
And I couldn't pick a better way to do it.
Yeah.
Spider-Man 3, the movie, I would, if I could go back in time.
Yeah.
Like, first you go there, then you go back to like 1960, whatever it was, prevent JFK from getting assassinated.
That's number one on your time travel.
Exactly. JFK's number 2. And just maybe this is just in reverse chronological order.
Sure.
Kill Hitler, number 3.
Yeah.
Save Lincoln, number 4.
Right, okay.
So I'll let you interpret that as whether it was just me going chronologically or whether that was actually my priorities.
That's definitely your order.
But, this promises to be probably the best iteration of Venom that we've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
And I can't wait.
Yeah, I'm chomping at the bit. 2023 can't get here fast enough.
But there will be one game that comes before then, almost assuredly.
Yes.
And that is God of War Ragnarok.
Oh my God. They gave it to us, man.
Did. They gave it to us hard.
Yeah, they were just like, here you go. Here's everything. I think it's easy to say, if we count this as E3, this was the best E3 conference. Of this season.
Undoubtedly.
And Xbox had a pretty good conference, but
the Xbox didn't have the absolute bangers that this one had.
Elbow drop and elbow drop.
Yeah, really. This one was
drop.
ridiculous in that regard.
The pacing was so interesting that they just I mentioned there, like during the stream, I was like, they kind of lulled us to sleep a little bit.
It was like, oh, okay, cool in the beginning.
And they were like, here we go. And then just rattled it off.
I don't think we've ever seen that many announcements in that quick a succession that were those big of heavyweights.
That high level, yeah. Oh, I totally agree. I like that they kind of saved it all for the end. That was fun. God of War Ragnarok looks amazing.
Of course.
Love how I'm not going to mention how, they very cleverly skirted some spoilers for the first game in a way that I'm not sure a lot of people noticed, but I will mention it to you off course. After. But because there was someone in chat, I think it was Kat, who was like, I just bought God of War, can you wait just a second? Like, basically just had to like mute, which I understand. But they were very smart about what they did and didn't spoil. The teases for Thor, Tyr, them pursuing, sort of the God of War of this world.
Yeah. Freya's return.
Freya being back, a lot of the side characters being back. The Lake of Nine being frozen over.
Oh, that looks so cool.
So fun. Like, you're basically dog sledding. It looks so cool. I mean, God of War, there's a fucking statue back there. It's like my second favorite game of all time, and I'm incredibly excited.
And that's the thing, like, as much as we could say about any of these other games that, like, I'm sure they'll be good.
Yeah.
I'm sure this game's going to be a 10. Like, I don't know if I've ever been that confident in how good a game is going to be.
Yeah.
Besides God of War 2. It's going to be incredible.
I totally agree.
Cannot wait. And with that,
shout out to pubescent boy. He hit puberty.
Oh, okay. Okay, now I see what you're saying. He is pubescent.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
It's fun. And there's a girl he's gonna flirt with, obviously.
Yeah.
I'm very excited.
That's gonna be. Can't wait to hear Kratos have to give him like the sex talk.
Oh, that's gonna be awesome. The birds and the bees.
He's like, boy, like you just know that's gonna be like really awkward for him to try to talk.
Please, all I'm asking, and this isn't gonna happen, but is for them to flash back to the opening of God of War 1, where he's on that ship where all the women are just naked. That was such a core memory for like 12-year-old me. It's just like, there's boobs in this game.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But with that, the PlayStation conference, the PlayStation Showcase came to an end.
It did.
Congrats. That was awesome.
Yeah, well done.
Very excited.
Yeah.
And that's it for us almost, except for a wreck for the week.
Yeah.
Do you have one?
No, but I'll think of one.
I'm going to tell you mine.
Okay.
And this is going to be a little strange because when I recommend this,
okay,
and it is a game, it's kind of two games. It's because it was, revived in my memory because for some reason these games had a little bit of traction on Reddit this week.
Okay.
And I am among the, small but fervent fans of this franchise of games. And the franchise is Prototype.
Oh, right. Okay.
So someone posted a GIF of Alex Mercer from the first Prototype game jumping on top of a building.
Okay.
Jumping up 40 yards and then elbow dropping a helicopter out of the sky. And then basically saying Prototype 1 elbow dropping a helicopter out of the sky was the epitome of dumb fun. And I'm like,
yeah.
You're right.
That's a good way to put it.
These games were just open world, power trip, ridiculous fun.
Yeah.
And the story has some nuance. It's not great. It's a little generic, kind of zombie virus taking over the city kind of thing.
Yeah.
But there is some cool nuance between the first game where you play as Alex Mercer and the second game where you are completely anti-Alex Mercer. He is the primary antagonist.
That's cool.
And twist that I didn't really remember. And I don't get... If you're out there and you're like, there's no way you're chomping at the bit to play Prototype, so I'm just going to tell you. In the first game, you play as Alex Mercer, and you come to the conclusion that, he has amnesia, and he, sort of started the virus to, rebel against these evil researchers or something to that effect.
Okay.
Virus consumes him, he dies, whatever, but then comes back to life. Turns out you're not actually the human being Alex Mercer. You are the virus who has recreated the visage of Alex Mercer.
Okay.
To sort of be their avatar to run around the world.
Right. Interesting.
So that is why in the second game it's much more clear that he is the villain.
Right. Okay.
And then you play as I forget the guy's name who's the protagonist of the second game, and it doesn't really matter because he's pretty generic.
Yeah.
But basically he is the first perfect virus human hybrid. So then you fight Alex Mercer throughout the whole game. Point being, these games were fun. Open world action games, which is the epitome of my favorite genre.
Yeah.
And if you just felt like having a game where you are about as powerful of a being as you could possibly be in a video game, they serve that purpose well.
It's a good
And
recommend.
I really enjoyed getting the callbacks and all the memories of these games. And I do think they're playable on modern consoles because I think they got ported to PS4.
There was a port at some point.
So then you can pay for it. You can buy it now too. So
cool.
They're definitely accessible.
I'm split between two, but I'll go with a more modern one. I am going to shout out a small little game called Mini Motorways. It is a PC game. I'm not sure if it's on anything else. I imagine it might be on mobile devices. I'm not sure. But it is all about planning traffic from different houses to different buildings. It is a very zen puzzle game, and I like it for sort of unwinding, de-stressing. I just want to do something with my brain, but I don't want to think too much. Shout out! It's a very pretty game. It's very cute. It's from the people who made Mini Metro, which is a decently well-known indie game. I like this one more. I think it's interesting enough. I think it's challenging enough, but it kind of calms me down, and I like that.
So about as polar opposite of a game as you could have possibly recommended.
Exactly.
That's a good way to go out.
Yeah.
On this very special PlayStation Showcase-centric episode 20 of Double Tap.
What a day.
Next week, we'll be legal age, 21.
Hey!
But still less special than 20, I guess.
Sure.
But soon enough, now that we have officially, I guess, wrapped E3 season, question mark?
Sure.
We will, at long last, recap our predictions for all of E3 season, and we will count this as the end.
Okay,
so
cool.
Starting with, the opening of E3 all the way to now.
The 3-month E3.
We will count all of our predictions as part of that time period.
Cool.
So we will recap that for you soon enough, so get hype about that. But until then, we're tapping out.